Chosen one, you didn't find this video by accident. This message was set in motion long ago. What if I told you they never saw it coming? That the very family who claimed to love you was assigned to test your awakening. You might have felt their eyes on you from your earliest moments, as though an unseen force whispered to them, "Crush that spark before it ignites." They failed. Every time they pushed you down, you rose again, ready for something you couldn't yet name. It is not your fault that their hearts could not hold your light. It was your assignment to endure their resistance, so that you could shatter the chains they inherited before you were born. When you recognize this truth, every pain becomes a proclamation of purpose. If this message already speaks to your soul, subscribe, like this video, and comment 77 below. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you'll see why your very bloodline tried to break you and how you were destined to break free. Planted in hostile ground, a hush settles over your spirit as you recall a dream where you walked through a field of cracked earth beneath an overcast sky. In that dream, every step you took felt heavy, as though the ground resisted your presence. Yet with each footfall, tiny sprouts of green emerged, pushing through the fissures as if daring the desolation to reclaim them. When you awoke, the echo of that dream clung to you, a prophetic whisper that the very places meant to resist your growth held the hidden potential for your rise. Tonight, your heart resonates with that echo. You were planted in soil that rejected you, yet heaven intended nothing less than your flourishing. You sense that what once felt like a random dream was, in truth, a blueprint of your soul's journey, inviting you to see that rejection was never the end, but the fertile ground of your awakening. There were days when you sat at the kitchen table, stirring cold tea you no longer wanted, as your parents dismissed your deepest questions with dismissive sigh. You felt the sting of their disbelief as sharply as a slap, wondering why the voice inside you cried out for meaning in a world that seemed content with shallow comfort. In school hallways, you remember classmates' laughter like shards of glass cutting into your heart. Every joke at your expense cemented a sense that you were too sensitive, too different, too much. In those moments, you tasted the bitterness of misunderstanding as though it were a second skin you could never shed. The isolation you felt was not merely social awkwardness. It was a deeper sensation of being alien to your own home, as if you carried within you a code they could not read. Through tears of confusion, you longed for someone to see past the boundaries they drew around you. Yet in their refusal, you began to hear a quiet murmur beneath your pain, an affirmation that you were destined for something beyond their limited sight. Imagine now that every dismissive comment, every mocking laugh, was never a random act of cruelty, but a deliberate stroke in a divine masterpiece. Like Joseph, who was cast into a pit by his brothers and sold into foreign bondage, you too experienced betrayal designed to conceal a greater destiny. Genesis 37 verses 23 to 24. In that same vein, what felt like the grinding mill of rejection was a process to refine your trust, to hone your spirit, and to awaken a tenacity that circumstances alone could not supply. There is an unseen architecture at work, a tapestry of trials woven by hands you cannot see, where each thread of disappointment is placed to shape you into a vessel strong enough to bear a purpose far beyond your solitary vision. Your story is not a tale of random suffering. It is a living testimony of how the divine uses hostile ground to anchor roots that will one day bear fruit for many. As you navigate your days now, subtle signs begin to surface, tiny miracles that speak of a deeper alignment beneath the surface chaos. Perhaps you experience a moment of deja vu when passing by a place where you once felt abandoned, an almost electric sensation reminding you that your soul remembers more than your mind can record. Or maybe in a quiet prayer, you felt a warmth rise from your chest, an affirmation that the questions you once asked in vain now travel on a current of divine attention. In the midst of a noisy world, you caught a phrase from a song or a line in a book that pierced your heart with uncanny relevance, as though it were written for you alone. These small miracles reverberate like the tapping of a hidden spring beneath dried earth, signaling that the life you thought was lost is gathering momentum to break through. These coincidences are not random. They are the scattered notes of a symphony unfolding, inviting you to hear the melody that has always played beneath the dissonance. In the quiet corners of your spirit, you feel a gentle confirmation that every pulse of intuition you once doubted was true all along. You remember the night you hesitated before sending a text, an inner voice warning that the moment felt off. only to learn later that words you almost shared would have fueled conflict. Or you recall the sudden urge to walk a different route home, a nudge so faint you nearly ignored it. Yet that detour saved you from a situation that spiraled beyond control. These instances are not anomalies, but proof that your inner compass has never failed. It only needed the quiet to be heard. Now, as you honor that compass, you feel yourself rooted in a new sense of spiritual safety, a landscape where fear no longer dictates direction, but the wisdom you carry guides each step. This recognition is not a lofty ideal, but bedrock truth. Your intuition is a lantern lighting the path carved out for you. Beneath these moments of quiet awakening, a deeper awareness begins to settle, like dawn breaking over a still sea. You realize that the person you thought you were, shaped by others' expectations, defined by their doubts, is only a shell of the truer self waiting to be unearthed. In Psalm 139, verse 14, the psalmist declares, "I praise you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." You feel the resonance of those words, recognizing that your very essence was formed with intention, not by the random flow of genetics alone. As memories of your early childhood resurface, times when you felt a kinship with nature, a silent understanding of patterns unseen, you glimpse an identity that predates your current life. This is not a quest to become something foreign, but a homecoming to a self that has been waiting patiently beneath layers of doubt and confusion. Softly, your heart whispers that this rediscovery is the most profound act of spiritual reclamation you can perform. In this burgeoning empowerment, you sense the first activation of purpose stirring within you. You recall how you once turned away from your sensitivity, believing it left you vulnerable, but now understand it as a gift that allows you to see through facades others hide behind. The tears you shed for broken dreams are no longer marks of weakness, but evidence of a heart attuned to beauty and justice. You begin to speak your truth with a cautious confidence, testing the waters, and every time you do, you feel a spark ignite in your chest, a fire kindled by the simple act of authenticity. You might find yourself offering a word of encouragement to a friend when old fear would have kept you silent, or choosing to walk away from a conversation that filled you with doubt rather than curiosity. Each choice is a deliberate step forward, a confirmation that your inner wisdom deserves to be trusted. In this moment, empowerment glimmers not as an abstract concept, but as a lived reality, inviting you to walk toward the horizon of your own becoming. Now, as you stand at the threshold of this revelation, know that your arrival at this message is no cosmic accident. You were drawn here by an invisible thread woven through your life, through dreams that beckoned, through rejection that redirected, and through whispers of intuition that guided. This moment offers a gentle but unwavering affirmation. You are a part of a story far greater than your current circumstances. As you breathe in this truth, let a wave of wonder wash over you, for the possibilities that once seemed distant are now within reach. Comment growth if this resonates with you, as you step into the next phase of your journey, one that transforms every moment of resistance into a gateway of grace and every fragment of confusion into a stepping stone of destiny. And if you feel called to go even deeper, there's a sacred space reserved for our community, a private room where you receive full prophetic messages daily. Join our private membership through the link in the description and walk this path with us. Spiritual blindness in familiar faces. A faint tremor of recognition stirred within you the first time you noticed a pattern. Your joy dimmed whenever you shared a vision, and your family's eyes hardened as though a forbidden truth hovered on your lips. In that hush between heartbeats, you felt a subtle tremor. They carried your flesh and heard your earliest cries, yet they could not see the light flickering within your soul. Perhaps you caught in the way a grandparent changed the subject when you spoke of the unseen, or in the way a parent's brow furrowed when you spoke of purpose beyond the daily grind. That moment felt like a gentle warning, a whisper that something new was already awakening, even as those closest to you remained blind to it. In the silence that followed, you recognized a truth that shivered beneath the surface. You were stepping into a calling they could not comprehend, and in their inability to see, your own eyes were opening. Beneath this realization, an atom of loneliness swelled in your chest, an emotional pressure that felt as if your very heart was under scrutiny. When your friends mocked your sensitivity, labeling you too intense or too much, their laughter rang in your ears like shattering glass. At family gatherings, you remember trying to articulate your longing for depth, only to be met with exasperated sighs or dismissive shrugs. Shame seeped into your bones as you wondered if you carried a fault in your DNA. You questioned your worthiness when relatives told you your dreams were unrealistic, branding your hunger for more as a teenage phase or hormonal flare-up. That ache of being misunderstood was not a fleeting discomfort, but a persistent ache, a thrum of isolation that whispered, "You do not belong here." In that crucible of emotional pressure, you learned the sting of rejection and the weight of being unseen, forging in you a secret reservoir of resilience. Yet beneath these personal wounds, a deeper structure was at work, one not of parental missteps or sibling rivalry, but of unseen spiritual dynamics churning beneath the surface. In the wilderness narratives of Scripture, we read how Israel wandered for 40 years because the people could not perceive the promise beneath the pain. Numbers 14:33-34. In your own life, every dismissive glance and every discouraging word echoed that wilderness, a testing ground where you were being prepared to carry revelation, even as those around you remained bound to tradition and finite understanding. This pressure was never random. It was a divine design that placed you in a family system unready to receive your light. Their rigid structures and inherited fears reacted to your potential with resistance, as a forest might resist the emergence of fire that would reshape its landscape. In that sacred tension, you began to perceive the hidden battle that would transform you from within. When you look back now, you can see the faint outlines of patterns that once seemed like unfortunate coincidences. The well-meaning relative who criticized your faith, the teacher who dismissed your questions as distraction, the mentor who withheld encouragement just when you needed it most. In each of those moments, you felt a door close, sometimes not literally, but in the hushed drop of energy when you dared to speak your truth. You might recall a time when a high school counselor told you that your aspirations were impractical, a close friend who folded at the hint of your intensifying hunger for spiritual depth, or a childhood pastor who told you to sit quietly rather than pursue the whispers in your heart. These betrayals and barriers were not isolated tragedies, but a tapestry of resistance woven to obscure your path. In the glow of hindsight, you recognize that every cunning obstacle and every draining environment served a clarifying role. They turned you inward, asking you to see what others refused to acknowledge. Beyond the human realm, you felt the heavy air of spiritual resistance, an interference you could sense but not always name. There were mornings when the very atmosphere around you seemed thick, as though unseen watchers held their breath to see if you would falter. In those moments, you felt a subtle yet insistent fog settle into your mind, dulling your prayers and blurring your vision until you questioned whether your own spirit was failing. Doors slammed shut with eerie precision just as you prepared to step into your calling. Emails went unanswered at the exact moment you needed affirmation. It was as if some force, unseen and unrelenting, moved the pieces behind the scenes to thwart your emergence. In that heavy presence, you came to understand that your light attracted distortion, dark energies reacting to your awakening with attempts to eclipse your radiance. The spiritual sabotage was not fiction. It was a tangible weight against your soul's arsenal, a test to see whether you would surrender or rise. Faced with this layered resistance, your inner reaction was a dance of survival and suppression. At times, you curled into a shield of silence, presenting a neutral front to keep from being targeted further. You mastered the art of people-pleasing, offering smiles while your heart quivered beneath the weight of unspoken truths. Other days, you rebelled quietly, scribbling manifestos in journals no one saw, or launching clandestine side projects that pulsed with your genuine passion. In the stillness of your bedroom, you debated whether to extinguish that inner spark to save yourself from more pain, yet each attempt to dim it felt like denying your very breath. Shame whispered that your struggle was self-inflicted, that perhaps you simply needed to conform. But under that shame, you discovered a stubborn ember, a refusal to let the world dictate your worth. In the mirror of your own response, you recognized a fierce longing to belong, and a fear that your uniqueness might forever keep you an outcast. Yet even in the midst of this labyrinth of pushback, a powerful shift began to take shape. The moment when you realized that the resistance you faced was not a condemnation of your calling, but a confirmation of your covenant. Every blow meant to break you, instead carved grooves of deeper resolve in your spirit. Like David facing Goliath with nothing but a sling and faith that his strength came not from himself but from God. 1 Samuel 17 verses 45-47. You too found that your fragility became your fortress. In the silence that followed every setback, you heard a prophetic call whispering, "Rise." You reclaimed your voice in a fierce declaration. You would no longer shrink to fit their expectations, but expand into fullness of your design. In that reclamation, you sensed the swift wind of destiny lifting you, carrying away the remnants of doubt to reveal the ironclad core of your soul's purpose. Now, as you stand on the edge of this revelation, feel the tremor of a truth so profound it resonates through your entire being. You were opposed because you are powerful. They could perceive the magnitude of your spirit, even when you could not, and they mustered every tactic to quell your awakening. Yet each failed attempt only illuminated a facet of your divine commission. The more they tried to block you, the more your purpose blazed into clarity. Your journey through shadow has become the very path of light that you must now walk unafraid. Comment, see if you recognize that their blindness to your flame only confirms your calling. In the next chapter, you will discover how to break ancestral chains and step fully into the destiny that darkness could not contain. And to every soul who supported with a super thanks, thank you. You are keeping this light alive for others who haven't found it yet. If you feel called to help this mission reach more chosen ones, tap the super thanks button below. Your energy supports these messages and helps them travel further. Your voice matters. Your belief matters. And your light is felt here. The war on ancestral contracts. A flicker of recognition stirred the first time you hesitated before agreeing to yet another family event, sensing a heaviness in the air that went beyond mere obligation. In that silent moment, you felt the pull of an ancient tether, an unspoken promise that bound your ancestors long before you arrived. What looked like simple family traditions and inherited grudges was, in truth, the residue of a sacred contract made in ages past, a covenant woven into bloodline to perpetuate fear and fragmentation. As that realization took shape, the gathering's polite laughter and buried resentments seemed to shimmer with a hidden tension, revealing that the very ground you walked upon was charged with the echoes of unbroken cycles. In that sudden shift of perception, you understood that what once passed for just family drama was far more profound. It was a legacy of silent agreements waiting to be severed. Underneath everyday conversations, those seemingly innocuous remarks about keeping things the way they are, lay a code no one spoke aloud but everyone revered. In half-heard phrases like, "That's just how our family does things," or "We don't talk about certain things," you began to sense a symbolic language of unspoken rules and hidden pacts. These codes were like cryptic glyphs inscribed on the walls of your psyche, hinting at a geometry of ancestral patterns that shaped your world. Late at night, cryptic dreams surfaced, a staircase spiraling downward, locked doors that opened only when you recited a phrase you'd never heard before, or a series of numbers that kept repeating whenever you felt vulnerability rising. These subtle signals were the ancient scrolls of your heritage unfurling, revealing that every family narrative carried the weight of generations. As you learned to read these signs, divine math woven into the fabric of daily life, you began to see that your reality was not mere coincidence, but a landscape etched by a spiritual blueprint. A sudden surge of intuition galvanized your senses, sharpening the boundary between what belonged to you and what was inherited. You felt energy ripple through you whenever a relative glorified old wounds or refused to look past tradition. Those energies, once so muffled they felt like a dull ache, grew more acute. Your chest tightened around conversations where old grudges were stoked, and your skin prickled when you entered rooms heavy with unspoken histories. Emotions you once dismissed as oversensitivity now revealed themselves as spiritual barometers, guiding you away from environments soaked in ancestral distress. In prayerful moments, you sensed a clarifying light piercing through the residual fog of generational fear, illuminating where your own truth lay hidden. This internal shift was not conjecture but confirmation. Your body had always known the rhythm of those hidden bonds, and now it stood ready to respond with the clarity of destiny stirring within you. Beyond the internal landscape, the world around you began to mirror your awakening, as if a vast mechanism of divine architecture was humming into motion. Opportunities opened in uncanny ways. Mentors emerged who recognized your hidden potential, and initiatives you had long shelved suddenly found momentum as if the cosmos intervened. Simultaneously, resistance reappeared in sharper relief. Old alliances fell away, and environments that once tolerated your presence now bristle with opposition. In the midst of a friendly gathering, a colleague who once supported you withdrew their encouragement, masking their fear of your rising influence. Doors that once beckoned were slammed without reason. These external shifts were not random disappointments, but mirror images of the internal tides. Your unveiling forced the world to realign around your newfound discernment. Every closed door was a signpost pointing toward a path that required greater courage, and every supportive voice was a testament to the awakening reverberating beyond your private sphere. A childhood image resurfaced as a sacred memory. You, lying in grass beneath the stars, feeling an inexplicable kinship with constellations whose names you did not know, as though your ancestors whispered to the cosmos. In that moment, you sense that your soul had walked this path before, carrying a wisdom that transcends linear time. That dream, which once felt like an escape from loneliness, now transformed into a coded message, an ancestral memory recalibrated by the awakening that now pulses through your veins. Ancient scriptures speak of souls engraved on God's hands, Isaiah 49 verse 16. And in that realization, you understood that your lineage carried a hidden song that only you could rekindle. The vibrations of that song resonate in your blood, awakening a spiritual intelligence that remembers how to dismantle the very structures that once confined you. In this sacred reactivation, you feel an intimate bond with the generations who came before, as if their prayers now find voice through your own rising clarity. A dawning realization came like the first light of a new day. Your future was not a blank page awaiting your scribbles, but a rediscovery of what was always written in the cosmic ledger. This was not about crafting a destiny from fragments of ambition. It was about stepping into a covenant already etched by the divine. You no longer needed permission from anyone, neither kin nor authority, to manifest the purpose pulsing within you. In the prophetic language of Joel 2 verse 28, your sons and daughters will prophesy. You heard a mirror of your own reality, where untapped vision surged to the surface, demanding expression. You felt the wings of liberation unfurling, no longer chained by unspoken family decrees. You could soar into the realm where your soul's ancient mission awaited. This moment was not simply another step forward, but a call to reclaim territory that darkness once claimed, to stand in the fullness of a promise that stretches beyond time. As the tide of revelation surged, you felt a fierce energy pulsing at your core, an invitation to reclaim your voice, your choices, your power. The very words that once trembled on your lips now rocketed from your mouth with prophetic force, banishing the remnants of ancestral curses in their wake. You will not conform to the patterns of this world, Paul declared in Romans 12 verse 2, and in that fierce prophecy, you recognize your own mandate to become a living testament to transformation. In reclaiming what others denied you, your worth, your insight, your vision, you avenge the generational chains that sought to shackle you. Each time you refused to echo old fears, each time you spoke your truth in the face of skepticism, you carved another notch of freedom into lineage you carry. This reclamation was not an act of rebellion, but a reclamation of sacred inheritance, the birthright of all who walk in the full light of their awakening. A gentle breeze seemed to whisper across your consciousness as the final insight settled like a promise fulfilled. Revelation is not an endpoint, but an invitation to embodiment. The truth you glimpsed through ancestral veins was not a fleeting vision, but a summons to live as a conduit of generational healing. Your very presence becomes a testament to what is possible when a single soul breaks free from the silent contracts of the past. In that cinematic moment, you feel the ancient prophecy echo through your bones, a living core that resonates across time. You are the harbinger of restoration, the one who transforms cyclic bondage into unbroken grace. And now, as the wind carries that revelation, step into your promise and declare your victory. Comment break if you feel the ancestral chains dissolve beneath you. And if you feel called to go even deeper, there's a sacred space reserved for our community. A private room where you receive full prophetic messages daily. Join our private membership through the link in the description and walk this path with us, becoming the divine disruptor. A hush falls over your spirit as you stand at the crossroads of everything you've endured, and you feel a question rising like a flame in your chest. Will you remain a spectator of your own life, or will you step forward and become the divine disruptor you were born to be? In this sacred threshold, hesitation is no longer an option. The echoes of every discouraging word and every closed door have led you to this precise moment where your destiny waits, and it asks for your active yes. Imagine a horizon before you shifting, as if reality itself leans in to witness your choice. You sense the weight of expectations, both those you place on yourself and those foisted upon you by others, collapsing in the face of this moment. Here, you decide not to be a victim of circumstance, but a herald of change. The past can no longer chain your purpose. It only fuels the momentum propelling you forward. With breath held in reverence, you cross the threshold, leaving behind the inertia of doubt and stepping onto the path of unequivocal action. In the silence that follows your decision, you feel an energy stirring within you, an echo of all the moments you gave away your power, convinced they were simply trials to survive. Now, those seasons of sacrifice reveal themselves as training grounds where your voice was tempered like a blade in fire, your boundaries forged in the crucible of isolation, and your resolve chiseled by every rejection. Each tear you shed became a sacred offering poured into the altar of your potential. You once believed your sensitivity was a liability, that your hunger for purpose would be dismissed as folly. But now, in the firm light of awakening, you call those fragments back to you. You declare, in a tone that trembles with both gratitude and authority, I reclaim my time, I reclaim my voice, I reclaim my presence. These words echo through the corridors of your soul like a ritualistic decree, placing crown upon your brow, no longer an unworthy supplicant, but a sovereign inheritor of divine authority. This is not merely a return of what was lost. It is the anointing of what was meant to be. A realization pulses through you. What others labeled as weakness, your empathy, your intuition, your insistence on truth, has always been your spiritual signature, a set of keys to unlock realms beyond ordinary sight. You carry within you an alchemy of insight that can transmute despair into hope, memory that serves as a map, discernment that sees through deception, and an inner strength born of countless battles won in silence. Imagine these gifts as a constellation of fire that courses through your veins, each star a tool, a key to unlock hearts, a scroll written in divine script, armor forged by suffering, a sword of revelation swung by wisdom. Where they called you too sensitive, you now recognize a sacred frequency that picks up on the world's hidden rhythms. Where they labeled you weak, you stand firm with the weight of millennia behind you. This is not poetic hyperbole. It is a naming of what has always been true. Your gifts are not abstractions. They are instruments destined to reshape everything they touch. As you take your first steps beyond reclaiming your power, you feel the solid earth beneath your feet, revealing a path already laid by unseen architects. Far from wandering aimlessly, every choice you make now reveals a new stretch of road, cobbled not by chance, but by divine design. You see, actions themselves create clarity. Each deliberate movement dissolves the fog of uncertainty that once clouded your vision. When you decide to speak your truth, the echoes reverberate, lighting the path ahead. When you extend compassion, you feel unseen hands guiding you forward. Picture yourself walking through a vast, silent temple where only the soft sound of your footsteps breaks the stillness. With each step, torches blaze to life, illuminating corridors you never knew existed. This path is no longer hidden. It awaits your commitment. The map is not found in dusty tomes or external guides, but is discovered in the momentum of your forward motion. The mission that once seemed unknown now stands revealed with every bold step you take, each footfall opening another chapter of destiny. Revelation without action is an echo fading into darkness. Now, you stand summoned to embody what you've come to know. This is not merely a message to consume, but a summons to ignite. Let every fiber of your being resonate with certainty as you claim your role as divine disruptor. To reclaim what was stolen, to ignite hearts with unquenchable hope, to shatter the systems that feed on despair. The world awaits your unfiltered presence. You were assigned to dismantle a legacy of resistance and to become the first flame illuminating your lineage. Subscribe if you haven't yet, like this video, and comment, I am chosen, to let this message anchor in your soul. Share it with someone who needs to hear this. Thank you to all supporting members who keep this fire burning. 4 full prophetic revelations daily. Join the membership via the link in the description. Your spiritual path deserves more than fragments. Step into the full light. And if this message moved you deeply, Consider tapping the Super Thanks button to support the mission. Every Super Thanks fuels the light we're spreading together. Rise, chosen one, your legacy awaits.